Okay, good morning, all. All right, that's looking okay on my end, and everybody can hear all right. Oh, good. I'm standing right by the computer, so make sure when I go back to the mat that it continues to be nice and loud for you. It should be crystal clear with this thing in my, with the microphone right there. Oh dear, oh, that won't work at all. Let's give ourselves just a little more height. Still getting used to kind of my setup with this other program. So yeah, that'll work okay for the moment, as long as I don't put my hands over my head, right? Welcome to Pilates and Strength. Just gonna make sure we're eek. There we go. And well, now I've cut it off on the bottom. We'll keep adjusting. So weights today, a chair, and let's see, something for your knees if you don't have a couple of mats and your knees need it. We might be on our knees just for one exercise today. I wanted to work on obliques today. So last time we worked on transverse abdominis, I usually think of that muscle kind of lower because it's where we can sense it more. It does go up a little bit more, but it's very deep in the body, very much our core, part of the core. So today we're going to work a little bit more with obliques. We have two layers. Some of them go this way. You see me making hand movements with my hands, and then we have some that go this way. So those fibers really help to stabilize us in the side to side movements. We don't even think about them, of course, but they're there through all of that, all of our movements. And in particular, right in our balances, we're working the legs, we're working the hips, but you're also going to work a little in your obliques to stabilize moving your body side to side. So we'll start out on our feet. I want to just get kind of warmed up and hit some of the marks that we want to hit today with our weights. So go ahead and grab light weights, it could be, or even no weights. We might go back kind of in and out of them. And I'll turn to the side here. I'm just going to make it a little assessment. You hear me giving a good exhale. So I check in with my feet, knees, hips. And we're going to head right into kind of taking the body forward, a little softness in the knees. Right away, I start to sense that transverse abdominis helping me there, because as my torso comes forward, I'm going to need that. I'm just going to give a little forward here. I think we worked on this last week too, some deadlift kind of movements, taking those weights forward. Oh, in some of my classes a while ago, back in Eau Claire, I would even take the weights down to a chair, like rather than, have the floor as an end point, taking it down to the chair or even to a stool. So you can kind of play around with that as you feel. And I have super long arms. I mean, it all kind of comes down to our distribution in the body, right? Um, Good. So can you sense the legs are turned on a little bit? Core is turned on a little bit. I'm not doing a lot of bend in the legs yet. And then let's come back to standing. Good. I'm going to put those down for a moment. I'm going to just give my arms a little wake up in some circles. Let's start with smaller circles. Forward. And kind of quickly relax into your feet again, and then the other way. And bigger circles forward. Maybe not as quickly. And soften your elbows a little bit. Sometimes that helps. feel a little more fluid that way. Like if we're really straight through the elbows, I might find a little more catching. So just a little bend. And then the other way. I like how this starts to warm up in my shoulder joint or all the muscles that support it. One arm seems a little more fluid than the other one, so I'm just paying attention. Maybe not going as high on that side. Not that I'm not looking for it, but a little bit smoother down here. A little bit more smooth. And bring your arms down. Good. Weights are still down there. I'm just going to widen my stance a little bit. And let's take a punch across. Now, if you've got a really light weight, like a water bottle, a 1, 2, 3, 4 pound weight, you could take that across here if you wanted. And you don't have to reach as far as you can go the first couple times. Let the body warm up. You could get really kind of like a jab across if you want, or keep it a little more flowing. Reach, 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 reach. You could lift up a leg back there. Good. All right, and then coming back to center here. Checking in. I'm going to grab 1 or 2 weights. You could grab just one and hold it center if you'd like. Now the challenge here is keeping ourselves honest about your hips. So pelvic crests are right here. You're facing forward with them. Don't let them move. A little softness in my knees, feeling my feet, everything in parallel. I'm going to take a little twist and back to center. And back to center. Do you think we get to work obliques with this one? Good. Are your knees moving? Hips? Good. Come back to center. Good. As long as we're here, let's take that 1 or 2 weights overhead and warm up in the triceps a little bit. So taking that weight behind you, lifting up. And you can start out with that lighter weight. I'm hoping we get to work with the triceps again in class. So this is all sort of first round stuff. And then bringing that weight down again. Good. I'm going to grab both of those weights and we're going to take them overhead. So I'm just see if I can adjust my camera one more time here. Give myself a little more space. Oh, too much space. Enough on the floor and enough up here. All right, here we go. Taking a wider stance. And then let's take that overhead. All right. Couple more here. You can decide if you want to hold those weights here or continue overhead, taking them down in a squat here. Up, down, up, down. Good. Let's do two more like that. Down and up, down and up. Good. Bringing those weights down to the floor. Good. And we're going to come to that knee position. So if it works for you to have a little more padding, you know, taking a blanket, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if I need it. I've got a couple of mats here, even though I'm on this wood floor. Doing okay. So I'm going to have a chair nearby and come onto the knees here. And we don't always get to do this one, so it's kind of fun to play around with every now and then. Heart rate is still going. So I'm going to give a couple of options, one using the chair, one taking the hands away and having them behind the head. And what you do with this leg that goes out to the side, we're going to end up doing some balancing on one leg, and this is sort of a tripod leg. Now, that might be uncomfortable to take the leg out straight out to the side here. Maybe you do a little bit of a tippy toe here instead. Doesn't have to be that your knee turns out even, because we're not doing too much for this leg. We're going to be working with the obliques. So starting with the hand here, I'm just going to have a fingertip here. Maybe I'll take the other hand to the top of the head, and I'm going to see about taking the body over that way. Over that way. Now I'll see what it's like if I have this foot a little bit closer in, because that doesn't feel so good. If it doesn't for you, I'm still getting a lot of stability work here with my toes just on the floor, or the toes could even be out front. You can kind of experiment. Feel like it was a little more challenging with my toes behind me, but my knee is still off. So then if you want to give that a try, you could take the leg out, and we can do this all kind of sans the support, right? Without some of the support here. And we're not really aiming to get down to that chair here. We're looking for that stability, that help. Which side are you feeling you're getting the work from? Good. Let's bring our hands down, bring the legs together. And if it's comfortable, you can sit down on the legs, or you can bring them out in front of you. And let's just do a lean over with the hand on the floor this time, or on your chair, and get a little stretch. Now, how many found that was a little bit elusive, or that you maybe didn't get right into it like you wanted to? Like you were working, but maybe not just working here. You were working here, or the stability in the legs or the feet. There's a lot going on there, right? So let's just try the other side and see if we can fine tune it all in our movement coming up. So I'm giving some options because even though this movement is okay for me, it certainly is a pretty open position for the hip. I can feel gluteus medius and stuff like that working. It's okay. It might not be okay for you. And so how do you make that a little less, but still have the leg out to the side so that you can, so I've just adjusted, not a straight leg, still finding a little bit of my foot on the floor, and can I work from that position? So other hand comes up to the head, and I'm going to put that chair out there so it's just a little bit further. For my build, I have pretty long arms. Now, can I continue both hands? I did put that leg back out there. It must feel better. If I bring it in, I feel like I'm not accessing as well here into those obliques, but you could be feeling just fine. And then bringing the knees down. And you can come down to seated again and take that over and get a nice little stretch. Now, if the legs don't like, or if the knees don't like that, you can also sit down on your seat and kind of let the knees have a little more opening, right? And you can still work with this. Good. All right. I'm going to transition to hands and knees here. Move my weights so they're out of my way a little bit. Come to hands and knees. Good. We get to feel the hands on the ground. We've already felt the feet. We've had the knees be our stability. Now we get to check in with your hands. And the hands are pretty amazing parts of the body to keep in good shape, right? So see if you can find some contact with your knuckles, with the pads of the fingers, even the thumbs. And notice how that might take some weight off of your wrists. See if you can find a spot that feels supported and not too much weight going in, even as you hold this position. So if you're still feeling, if you start to feel like, oh, I'm so tired in my palms or in the wrists, again, a little more energy going into the fingers, the pads of the fingers, the knuckles. Good. Let's take one leg back, reaching it back through the heel, take the other leg back. Now, last week we did some planks that have to do with the transverse abdominis, trying to keep the belly button lifted without over lifting, right? We're not headed into downward facing dog. Can we find the challenging spot for the core with the hips in the right spot? Head lifted, but not excessively. 3, 2, 1. Come on down and just stretch back. Palms up, wiggle the fingers. And then let's take our body across a little bit. We can get a little bit of this armpit, length of the arm all the way into the side body. And the other side. Feel that a little in the, definitely in that underarm, but also sometimes all the way back to where I connect into the hip. Coming back to your hands and knees. Reach back. See if you can reach back with the opposite foot this time. Connecting into the fingers again. Last week we talked about, maybe we didn't talk about this much last week. We were trying to support between the shoulder blades a couple weeks ago. And as we come into plank, it's not only the lower belly, right, but this rib connection coming to your plank position. So hips drop. Almost always I can do a little more of the hips dropping without feeling a sinking in my lower back. And I always can feel a little lift needed between the shoulder blades. That's my body, but probably indicative of many of you as well. 3, 2, 1. We're going to bend the elbows, holding here. 5, 4, just a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring the legs down. This time let's come up on the knees again. Let's bring the arms up in front and all the way overhead. Let your elbows come out, get really wide, like we do kind of with the cactus arms. Bring them up again, and wide again, and up, and wide, and up, and wide. Good. Take your fingertips outward and then downward. Roll down. And then take your hand, that'll take, it doesn't matter which one, you'll kind of make this adjustment. So maybe you can turn toward your monitor so you can see. I'm going to turn toward my side body here to give one hand some of that support here. And I'm going to see if I can do a little dip. So I'm also going to make an adjustment. Find a good spot for your knees. And this leg can be out in front. This top one, it can be together. It can reach out if we get more. That probably is the more difficult. And I'm going to see about doing a little dip of my hip and back up. Dip and back up. Now, if this is too much on the wrist, what happens if you do it in a fist? Is that a little better? And back up. Back to plank. Oh, we're so happy now to have both hands on the floor, aren't we? Let's lift the knees up. Find our alignment. Find the places where we need to buoy the support from the core. Knees come down to kiss the floor. Lift the toes. Put the toes back under. Lift the knees. Knees come down. Lift the toes. Toes go under. Lift. Good. Knees come down. And I'm going to switch sides so that I can bring that other hand to center and work on those hip dips on the side. So I'll do a few with my hand down, and if I get tired, I'll switch to my wrist, or excuse me, to my fist, so my wrist gets a break. See if we've got 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Good. Back to hands and knees. Our last plank. Bring the hips down, head up. Reaching back through the heels. Get really nice and strong with your legs. Lengthen the back of the neck. 3, 2, 1. You can bring the knees down, lower down to the belly. Good. And bring the arms out to the side. Feels nice to be on the floor, doesn't it? Onto the belly. Nose and chin hover. Fingertips out to the side. Let's come up on the fingertips. Let the mouth and jaw soften. And then let's lift one side and then lift the other. Center line is staying nice and centered. To be quite honest, this is probably not the most work we can do for the obliques, but if we did every exercise that had to do with the obliques, we might not enjoy that too much tomorrow. So a little more shoulder, a little more arm work here, lifting up against gravity. Noticing what muscles are working as you continue. Can you do both at once? A few weeks ago, we did that arm work where we did flies, right? And it was a very similar movement. We're just doing the end of that fly. I have a little softness in the elbows. Those of you that like to get too straight in your joints, just a little bit of bend. Good. 5. Getting a little tired now. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your arms back near the body. Ooh, let the shoulders rest toward the floor. Nose and chin hover. Let's lift one leg up and reach it back behind you. Nice straight knee. Get as straight as you can with the knee. Reaching through the toes. Let that leg come down. Reaching through the toes on the other side. Really cue into the knee. I'm always amazed. I say straight knee, straight knee, straight knee in class, and it's still kind of sloppy knee. We think that we're really reaching through the whole back of the leg, and we're not. So see if you can check in with that. 3, 2, 1. Relax that leg down. Good. Going to use the support here of the hands and the arms to help press ourselves up to the knees. Rounding as you come through. And we're going to work our way up to our feet again. Grabbing your weights. Good. So we haven't done these in a little while. These, if you do have options for weights, you could do your heaviest weights around. I'm going to take this stance of coming forward, nice straight spine, head in line with the spine, and I'm going to row. Row. So different than what we just did in T-straps. Different muscles being used. As the elbows come back, you could squeeze there and sense what's going on in your body, especially if your weights are a little bit lighter. Doing a little squeeze up here. Not so much that you start to feel, any pings of shoulder blades too close together or things like that. Just the right amount. 5, 4, squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Coming up. Good. Nicely done. I'm going to take a split squat. So not a big step forward here, but keeping this idea, we started out class with a little bit of deadlift work. I'm going to have some softness in the knees, but most of my movement is going to come from the core, right? From the body going forward, my torso going forward with these weights and coming back up. Forward and up. Forward and up. Forward and up. As I've gotten into this stance, my front knee has a little bend. My back one is fairly straight. You can test that out for yourself. Good. Let's pause here in this upward position. Bring your weights near the body, near the chest or the belly, and start to lean over. And then at the same time, let's see if we can straighten our front leg a little bit. Use that strength. So I'm pushing down through the front foot, straightening my knee, not quite all the way straight, and just very incrementally, a couple of centimeters at a time, seeing about going forward with this weight and with my body. And that's it, like without going into kind of a passive mode. This is my active movement, coming back up. And those of you that have done yoga for years, you know what that passive mode is, right? Where you can kind of hang out, you kind of ask the muscles to do long, long, long. Here we're trying to keep the muscles, switch sides, keep the muscles active as you go forward. So back to our movement where we have the weights going forward on this side and back up. You might have a little bend in that front knee, and your back leg might be a little straighter, or you might experiment. Keeping this active idea going. We're going to do 4 more here. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to bring those weights in close to the belly or the chest, wherever you'd like to bring them. I like the chest just because I give myself this a little bit further away from center. And I'm going to see about straightening my front leg. Now there's some balance here too, right? I have my feet not so far apart that I can find my heel on the floor back here. Many of you will have that heel kind of turned in. See if you can straighten it. And then can I straighten the front leg? And can I go forward? Keeping things nice and strong here. I can feel my big toe wants to press down. I want to keep a real good eye on the legs staying really active, especially the front one, but really both of them are working, especially the front. If I get to a place where I could just kind of let everything go, I'm going to come back up. So could you be the ballet dancer kind of flowing all the way over their leg, or the yogi that only does lengthening stuff? Sure, we could, but that's not what we're doing in this class today. All right, biceps. Let's pay a little visit to those muscles here. Here we go. Good. Now, if you've got those lighter weights, how do we make that work a little bit more? Resist the downward. You can probably even resist the upward. Make it a little bit harder by squeezing in those muscles, squeezing at the bicep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And bringing the weights down here. Let's take the arms out to the sides. Checking in, mouth and jaw, the face, the stance, a little bit of softness in the legs, noticing the arms. Let's take our weight to one side and let the other foot get so light that we lift. And bring the leg down and switch and lift. And see if you can hold here a little bit longer. Sometimes we move through these, and sometimes it's nice to see, where's my balance at with this practice? Where is it at today? And if we're correcting, that's the body's way of knowing where we are in space, right? Is the body's way, if we're wobbling and all of that, of making those adjustments in real time. One more. Do you have one side that was more solid than the other? This side I seem to want to wobble a little bit more, and then coming back. All right, down to the floor. And we'll have a nice seated position. Feet just a little bit apart here. And then let's do a little bit of rounded spine. I'm going to come back back behind the sit bones, kind of rolling back, pulling that transverse abdominis back, the lowest belly. And then let's take the arms out into spine stretch. And coming back up. You can straighten all the way up. If the legs or the hip flexors are unhappy, you can always pop the knees up here. Let's do that again. Rolling back, so I'm starting this with that backward motion, and then I'm going to let things equalize a little bit as I take the arms out. Coming back up. Exhale, reach back. Arms reach out. Don't let things get too crowded around the neck and in the collarbones. See if they can stay broad here, even in this position. One more time, back. Broad with my reach, reaching with the head. And then coming up. Good. Let's take that into a twist. Twisting to one side. Just give it a little bit of a practice run first. So I'm going to pull back on this side, and I'm going to reach out toward the toes. And switch. Pull back and reach. Pull back, continue pulling back and reach. Pull back and reach. Pull back and reach. Pull back and reach. Here we go, last set. And back to center. Bring those legs in. Good. And then right in the center here, we're going to do a similar thing with the pelvis, right? I want you to come back behind the sit bones onto the sacrum, maybe even, beyond the tail so that that's not uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, give yourself some more padding and start to use the belly to support you as you come back into C-spine. Hands out in front, hands out to the side. One out to the side, back to center. Other one out to the side, back to center. The big challenge here is the shifting of the legs. Your arm can obviously go a whole long way out to the side. It doesn't have to go as far as it can. Where is it that the arm can go that you feel most supported here? Good. Both hands out front. We're going to up the ante. Up, out to the sides, back to center. Up, out to the sides, back to center. Out to the side, up, back down to the knees. Out to the sides, up, back down to the knees. Pull those legs in a little bit further toward you. And let's try this again. Out to the sides, back to center. One arm out to the side, back to center. With the legs closer, is it easier or harder for you to keep this out of the legs? Or are you simply maybe getting a little fatigued? Here we go. Up, out to the side, and back in. Up, out to the sides, back in. Out to the sides, up, and down. One more. Out to the sides, up, and down. Ooh. Anybody else? Maybe getting a little dewy. All right, onto your back. Let's come down to the floor. You're going to have the feet on the floor. And we haven't had this opportunity yet to check in this position. We headed right off onto the feet, did some things on hands and knees, back to the feet, and now we finally get to come to this Really nice place for us to check in. Collarbones, mouth and jaw, the forehead. We have a couple more practices, a couple more exercises to do. See if we can keep a sense of interest and yet that concentration maybe not so much or not so present that we start to furrow the brow or feel that kind of our jaw setting, things like that. Bringing your hands behind your head. Letting your head be supported by this hammock you made with your hands. Broad across the collarbones and the back. And we're going to come up a little bit and then shoulder across toward the opposite hip. And back to center. You can come all the way back down if you'd like and regroup. Or we're going to eventually go straight from one side to the other. So thinking of this shoulder toward the opposite hip. Shoulder to hip, crisscrossing the body. Here we go. Back to center. Other side. Back to center. Other side. Back to center. Back to center. Now, legs are going to want to shift. You're going to want to feel like you have to go further. You do not. Let's see if we can keep those legs out of it. Shoulder toward my hip. Shoulder toward my hip. Shoulder. And last one. Shoulder. Back down in the center. And rest. Let the jaw go. The space between the eyebrows. Good. I'm going to bring the legs up. And you can just give them a little exercise here, in and out, making sure everything feels okay. We've already worked with squats and some work there, but not as heavily in the legs. We're going to come back to a stationary place, lift the head. This time, you can move those legs in and out. Now you've got something that gets a little bit closer to you, shoulder toward knee. Again, I'm not looking to hit my knee or elbow to knee there. Sometimes we can get away with kind of not doing the work when we just hit the elbow to the knee. Here we go. Shoulder toward the knee. Four, three, two, one, and come down. Good work. That's a very fun one. Good. We're going to come onto your side, and I'm going to grab my blanket here for my head. Actually, let's start on the back. I'm going to switch a little bit what we're doing, but I like having my head supported regardless. So hands at the side here, bringing the knees in. And I'm going to let the hands kind of help guide me. So I've got this hand back here on the floor, this hand out front on the floor. I'm going to let the body come over to the side this way. Let your back arm come up as you roll onto your side. Let that arm came up. Take your other hand to your side body. With the exhale, support yourself in this a little bit. So there's I don't know if it's equal amounts, but as I exhale, I can sense whether I feel supported or not coming back. So when you do that, you could start with your hands straight up toward the ceiling, kind of almost all the way onto your side, right? And then as you come back, taking a breath or two, noticing if you feel support. And I'm feeling a little catch in the back here, probably around my kidney area. And so I'm going to keep it just a little less on this side. It doesn't feel perfect there, but I'm still having a lot of success with breathing. And then I'm going to roll everything back to center here. And let's just hold the legs in. And then the same thing we did before, hands out. Now you'll see it the other direction if you are watching. I might put my hand in the screen here. And I'm going to let everything roll all the way onto my side. Letting this arm come up. Now my arms are really long. They happen to still find the floor. Please bring your arm up so that you don't right away kind of take this twist where you don't want to. Let the arm come up. Let it come back, breath by breath. So I do a little bit at a time. Now, if you want one more thing, sometimes it can be helpful to think about your hip, your top hip, reaching out away from you. Reaching that top hip out. Lengthening the flank, lengthening the side body. Because we can tend to kind of default into bringing everything kind of, your hip is right in close to your rib cage. Let that lengthen out. And then I'm going to bring my arm up again. Use both hands to help press me back to center and bring the legs in. Couple of breaths, if you can, really nice deep breaths toward your belly button, even though the legs are brought in. Bring in that deep breath into the thighs. And as it hits the thighs, the container, you might feel a little bit more in your low back, that air pushing on the viscera in there, in that way. One more deep breath. Full exhale out. And then you're welcome to stay like that. And I'll give you two different options to end in. Maybe the legs come up. You could even bring your hands underneath the hips and just let that help support the legs up like that. You don't have to have straight legs. You could have bent knees. Or if you've got this chair nearby, maybe you want to put your, now I would normally have the chair a little closer. Whoops. So that I can put my calves on it. A couple of options. And then my hands don't need to be underneath there anymore. Legs up or legs supported on the chair. We'll spend a few moments like this. Noticing your body resting here. Where's the weight of the body? Where's the heaviest part of the body? And what's the heaviest part of the breath? Can you sense where the breath is the deepest, or I guess we tend to think of that with the inhale. But where is there a dropping sense with the breath? And allowing your body scan, your mind to do a little assessment. How's the body feeling? And there are several categories that we could look at. Physical body. You might feel some energy in the body, some buzzing, tingling. You might check in with the mental state of the body, mentally feeling our movement practice. How's it landing today? Emotionally or spiritually, sense of your body in this moment. And as you're ready, taking a deeper breath in, preparing to move the body, bringing the legs in or down and rolling to your side. Perhaps pausing there for a moment. And then finding your way up. And then as you come up, it's almost like another experience, right? Eyes open, taking in your environment, preparing for the rest of the day. So I'll stop the recording and then I'll be online on Zoom if you have any questions or comments in the chat or verbally. Hope you have a really great day. We've had about 4 days of rain here in Boston. The sun's out today, as you can see in the room. Had some sun, so looking forward to a little more of that vitamin D today. Take care, everyone.